A few years ago, a forest gave me a key, a physical key. I was walking through a natural reservoir in Canada. I asked a question, and moments after, the answer came in the form of a physical key. I want to share this story with you because it's a good example of how the spiritual or energetic world can merge with the physical one, when we are attuned to the signs, symbols, and when we grant them importance. Being attuned to our symbolic world is an incredibly powerful tool. I mean, if you think about it, we are extremely complex beings and we don't fully understand the complexity of our body structures, mind, consciousness. And trying to understand all of this only from the rational mind is kind of like trying to, sense the wind by looking at a map, a flat map. It can show you the directions, the force, the name of the currents, but it's flat. It's not going to show you the feeling you get in your skin when the wind blows on you, or the temperature, or how it feels in your heart, to experience the beauty of it blowing in the leaves of a tree. Understanding the symbolic world helps you to draw information from other sources. We say that symbols are patterns of energy and consciousness, and in a sense that means that symbols carry enormous amounts of information, much more than words could. Symbols are also the language of our unconscious. So being attuned to them helps us understand ourselves better, make choices about life, our path at a different level, and even communicate with others in different ways. I have had many experiences like this throughout my life, but I want to share this one with you because, the synchronicity is quite specific and I think it's a lot of fun. Many of these experiences don't have, or I haven't found a rational explanation for them. But even if they do have a rational explanation, it doesn't matter, because what's meaningful is how our consciousness and the world interact to present information to us. And we are noticing for a reason. We're noticing this instead of that. From a psychological perspective, it's kind of like you're wearing glasses, and these glasses filter the things you notice. And your unconscious guides you to notice the things that will help you grow, that you're ready to integrate or resolve. It's as if the glasses are, they're dirty, they're tainted, they have little spots, and your unconscious guides you to places that can give you tools to clean them and to start kind of having a broader perspective of the world. You can decide whether you want to notice and listen or not. And to be fair, if you are asking questions about your life, if you are in therapy, if you're meditating, praying, and asking for guidance or help, it probably makes sense to listen. So here's the story of the key. I was in a retreat in British Columbia near Vancouver for one of my trainings to become a body-mind therapist. I had been to this retreat center several times before. It's the place where my school hosts its teachings, its trainings. It's where I've studied shamanism, therapy, meditation, and other spiritual paths. But this time was different for me because I decided to go to Canada for about 3 or 4 months because I wanted to see if I was welcome in that part of the world, if it could be a place where I could move to. The beginning of the trip was marked by my therapy training, and at the end, I was going to have my graduation retreat from the shamanism path that I was studying. One of the ways in which I receive answers to my existential questions is through signs. And for instance, I particularly feel very attuned to animals. So when I arrive somewhere and start seeing wild animals, I take it as a sign that I'm being welcomed. A few days into this retreat, I found out that I had COVID, which was pretty devastating at that moment. It was early in the pandemic, I think, so there wasn't necessarily a protocol in place yet. So I was basically waiting to be told what to do. I was sitting in a room on a second floor, overlooking this beautiful lake and this vast forest through a huge glass window. As I mentioned, I'd been to this retreat many times before, but I'd never really gone out to explore the forest, as we were always busy, studying, practicing inside the teaching space. And I was there waiting, feeling pretty low, as having COVID probably meant that I wouldn't be able to participate in the retreat anymore. When all of a sudden this beautiful ray of light, hit the tree leaves, and I thought, it's a perfect moment to go out and see the forest. I'd never before had time, now I do. So, oh, and this forest had always felt very magical to me. The first time that I ever went there, I saw a bobcat as soon as I got there, and I've had many encounters with other wild animals and other things. So I went out, and I'm not sure if I told anybody, maybe I sent a message, I don't know. There were two routes around the lake, and the one I took was supposed to take about 3 hours, but I was walking very slowly, stopping to meditate, to do cleansing practices, to process the feelings of the news that I had just received and enjoy the beauty. The path was taking me alongside the lake, and I could see the retreat center at a distance. Everything was essentially very peaceful and beautiful until it started getting dark. I wasn't prepared to stay out that long, so I didn't have a jumper, and at some point my phone died. So when it got very dark, I didn't have a torch either. I could see, the lake faintly, but eventually the lights of the retreat center also disappeared. And then the path broke. I had to move from the lake to cross a stream. And when I tried to find the path again, I couldn't find it. I was lost. And as time passed, I started feeling anxious, afraid, and I was cold. I mean, even though I love animals, I also knew that there were bears around and wild animals. And I also knew that, the lake wasn't far away, probably the retreat neither. But, I was cold, it was dark, I didn't really know where I was going, so I started feeling anxious. My anxiety started increasing. I kept going, feeling more and more lost. And at some point, fear really kicked in. And, I felt kind of like being, at that moment in the hero's journey in the belly of the whale. And I also thought, gosh, how awful it would be if they had to send a search party for me, right at the moment when I was feeling that I had ruined the retreat by having COVID. And at the height of it, at the height of feeling cold, nervous, frustrated, afraid, I stopped, and the image of my teacher came to mind, asking me, why are you here? Why did you come to the forest? And I answered internally, to know if I'm welcome here. And as soon as I said that, a light opened up pointing towards the ground. I looked over, and there was a key, a physical key lying on the forest floor. A perfectly clear symbolic answer to the question that I had just asked, am I welcome here? And a few steps later, I started seeing the faint lights of the retreat center at a distance, still far away, but I could now see them. And right after that, I found a small raft that I could take to cross the lake and essentially get to the retreat quicker. It almost felt as if Virgil was waiting for me to take me back. I now have a key. And we can of course find a rational explanation to this. Somebody dropped a key during their walk, and I happened to find it. And at the forest at night, right after asking a question if I'm welcome. So to me, it's impossible not to take it as a sign or to read meaning from it, especially because I had just openly asked a question. And if I didn't, it would be kind of like asking something and ignoring the responses. This reminds me a bit of the story of the man who was shipwrecked. There are many versions of this story, I think, but the lesson is essentially the same. This man is alone in the middle of the ocean after being shipwrecked, and he asks God for help. And moments later, a fishing boat passes by and offers to rescue him, to which he answers, "Oh, no, thank you, God is coming to help me," not realizing that they were God's help. So it doesn't matter whether you call it God, your true nature, your inner self, your unconscious. What matters is learning the language in which your life speaks to you, because answers come in ways we don't necessarily expect. Rarely are prayers or questions going to be answered in the form of a man or a woman, coming up to us and saying, "Pia, I heard your question during your meditation. The answer is this." And answers or guide poles can come in any form, in the form of a physical key or a feeling, noticing something, hearing something, having a dream, an opportunity opening. And if we aren't open to that, if we don't grant it value, we are essentially closing ourselves to a wealth of information. Oh, and another curious part about the key is that, I don't know if you can see it here, but it has the letters E.S.P engraved on it, extrasensory perception. So it was both a literal and a symbolic kind of message, kind of like the key to perception, the key to this world, the key to the forest, the key to life. I don't know. I mean, I did some research, and it's apparently a key company, and the key leads to a locker or something. But you get what I mean. E.S.P to me is extrasensory perception. I was training. It was something that was big in my life. So for me, these signs have become a sort of dialogue with life, a way of interacting with my own life and others. Dreams, symbols, synchronicities, they are the way in which I receive guidance. And I mean, and I'm not the only one who does this, of course. Many cultures have done this throughout times. And I mean, specifically for me, it hasn't always been like this. As a child, I was very attuned to this world, but for some reason I shut it off during adolescence. And later in life, when things started happening that were, I mean, just impossible to ignore, or that I couldn't find a specific explanation to, I decided to open up again. And the more open I've become, the more often these keys appear. And sometimes they're quite literal, and sometimes they're not. In that same trip to Canada, for instance, I dreamt of a man that I didn't know, and later found out that they were a real living person, a Tibetan teacher. So I basically decided to close my whole life where I was living and go and meet them. And that completely changed the course of my life. And I could tell you hundreds of stories like this. But the thing is, I know that you have stories like this as well. Maybe you have noticed something, experienced something, you know something in your heart, but maybe the world around you, your family, your friends, your peers, your school, tells you that it's just fantasy, that it's irrelevant, or maybe you don't necessarily use it for anything in your life, or maybe you yourself think, as I once did, that only things that you can see and touch and have a very specific scientific explanation to are real. So I invite you to start kind of thinking in a different way, or to start leaving this little window open to possibility, to the possibility of believing in your experiences. I mean, essentially, trust your experiences before you trust the words. And a great way for starting to do this is by noticing your dreams, because, I mean, dreams are something that most of us experience every night. You can start writing them down, talk to your partner, to your friends about dreams, ask them what they dreamt, tell them about yours. Notice what feeling the dream leaves you with when you wake up. I mean, basically start sending the message saying that this is something that you want to explore, map out, that it's relevant to your life. And I promise you, it will start opening. Well, that's it for today. I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments if you'd like to share them. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pia. I'm an artist and body-mind therapist, and I love working with dreams, symbols, the body, essentially everything that lies beyond the physical, the physical world, the spiritual practices, the energy. Because I believe our experiences are much bigger than just the physical, tangible world. And to start noticing it, we must unanchor our reality. Essentially, kind of like clean the glasses through which you look into or onto the world. Because, I mean, that will help you kind of like expand the scope of what you are noticing or what you are seeing. As I said, I love working with this. I have a workshop coming up about dreams and symbols. This one is going to be in Spanish, so I'm not actively inviting you to it. I mean, you're welcome if you speak Spanish. But if this is something that interests you, reach out to me, let me know, and I can tell you when the one in English starts. And yeah, I hope this is a little cue for you to start kind of like believing and noticing your own experiences. Thanks for being here. Love you lots, and see you next week.